Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. Today we'd like to talk about the NFL Draft, which happened last week, and we are here to give our sort of first impressions, first opinions on some of the picks that stood out to us during this last draft. It's been an eventful day. We broke a bunch of records. Smokey, how are you feeling in general about the draft we saw last week?
Probably different than anyone would expect me to feel being a Falcons fan, because it appears to be that is the unanimously hated pick for some reason, which I don't really feel that bad about it. I think it's mostly Kirk Cousins fans, and maybe, I'm trying to rationale this. Why are people so mad? Because didn't over half the teams in the entire NFL last season use their backup quarterback? And some people had, Joes off the street coming in to play quarterback. Why not have a good backup? I understand there's a huge contract with Kirk Cousins, who is coming off of an injury, who has, 2-3 years, maybe 4 years if he fulfills the entire contract. But he doesn't have that many years left. Why would you not take a route that involves having your next guy in line ready to take over? I don't know, maybe Michaeal Penix was expecting to play right off the top, and he could be slightly disappointed. Maybe Kirk Cousins is disappointed. But as we saw with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers went out and won 2 MVPs after that draft pick for the Packers. So I think it's a good incentive, in my opinion. How do you feel about that pick first?
Well, I'll tell you this much. I think we're going to be talking about him today. So he may be on my list, and I'm not going to tell you which list yet.
Well, I could guess.
Yeah, what we did is we are going to give our top 3 and our bottom 3 picks from the first round, just to highlight sort of the more outstanding picks. And I guess we'll go one by one, so then top, then bottom, then top, then bottom. So I'll let you go first with your first top pick of the draft.
Do you want my number 1 overall, or are we starting at number 3?
Just one of your 3. I don't have them in order.
Oh, okay. So just
for
one
me,
of my
it's just
favorite.
the 3 best picks and the 3 worst picks.
Ah, okay. See, I went by team and went through who I thought were the best picks for each team. But I'll start with Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears, because even though that probably wasn't my number 1 quarterback in the draft, it is unanimously the number 1 in the draft. And you're probably going to have to take him if you're in that spot, or you're just going to be ridiculed to death, kind of like the Falcons are at this point. But I think they made the right pick here, because that team is set up to win on offense now. They have had bad pick after bad pick at quarterback for so many years. They need that one guy, that generational talent. And if you're going to do it in this draft, why not go with Caleb Williams? He's probably the closest thing in this draft to a sure shot, according to popular consensus. So the other picks in this draft actually made the Chicago Bears look even smarter in the end. We'll see if it plays out, but also with their free agent signings, they got the right guy, in my opinion, and is Caleb Williams.
Okay. I am not including Caleb Williams in this one. To me, that is a solid B grade at number 1. You picked the guy that most people probably would have picked. I personally would not have picked, and that's not for on-field reasons. To me, there's just concerns that make him undraftable at number 1, or close to undraftable in a quarterback class like this, where there's so many potential number 1 on-field talents that I would have refrained from for off-field reasons. But for me, I have to go old school here. First pick I have to mention that I love was the Chargers with Joe Alt, the best offensive lineman in the draft, and Jim Harbaugh is picking up where he left off in the NFL with the Niners, which is hard-nosed run game. You're protecting Justin Herbert's weak side, which he hasn't had his entire career, and also you are setting the tone. That is the perfect pick for a Harbaugh-esque offense in the NFL. Great first pick. I like this a lot more than any wide receiver or tight end pick they could have made. To me, this is an A-plus pick, and this is a trendsetter. This is someone who's going to make an impact in the exact direction that Jim Harbaugh wants an impact to be made on his football team from day one. So Joe Alt, to me, number one, great pick. in this draft. Who do you have as your bottom 3 pick or one off?
I want to go with the Cowboys here because of their lack of picks. They did not get a running back. So
That's cheating.
taking Tyler Guyton in the first round when you should have been finding. You know what? Since the running backs weren't going in first round, I would say round 2. But man, I just feel like there were so many better picks that they could have been going after, regardless of what you believe about Taylor Guyton. I think the Cowboys are set up to fail at this point. They believe they are a playoff team, but I don't think you're going to do it with that offense. Dak is not happy. Who knows how long Dak is going to be there now? I just think there were so many better offensive skill position picks in the first round, in the second round that you could have went with, but we got Tyler Guyton there, tackle out of Oklahoma. And it's an Oklahoma player, so I love dumping on that anyway. What do you got?
I'm going to go with Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jaguars. To me, this is a reach for a wide receiver who hasn't seen a whole lot of big challenges. He has not faced number 1 corners. He's not faced double coverages in college due to the presence of Malik Neighbors at LSU. And that's a player that was my number 7 wide receiver with a mid-second round grade. There are a couple of receivers still on the board. If you want to go receiver that I had higher than him, to me, this is a bit of a reach. I would have liked to see Jacksonville either go defense here, or if you're picking receiver, I think there's still 1 or 2 names I would have preferred. And to go at number 23, and if this is your guy, you might as well trade out of the first round, because you're probably going to get him at the beginning of the second or later in the first. There's some teams that would have been interested in jumping into that spot, so to me this is a bit of a reach. I don't love it. It's not a terrible pick by any means, addresses a position of need for Jacksonville, but not optimally the guy I would have liked to see there. He's not in that upper echelon with the top receivers, which already were off the board, that really warranted a number 1 pick. Who's your next in the top 3?
Man, it's the other side of that coin. It is Malik Neighbors, wide receiver out of LSU. Yes, there were 2 somewhat elite wide receivers from LSU in this draft, and you just mentioned the other one. The other side, Malik Neighbors, is absolutely elite. That was my favorite wide receiver in this draft, over Marvin Harrison, regardless of what people think about the bloodline there. Malik Neighbors is absolutely my favorite pick. That is who I wanted the Falcons to take in round 1. And as we see, the Giants went ahead and snatched him up, so it wasn't going to be possible anyway unless they traded up somehow, which I don't think anyone was going to come off of those picks above the Falcons. That's who I wanted. The Giants got him. And if you're gonna keep Danny Dimes there, then you need to give him some elite wide receivers. This is absolutely one of my favorite picks in the entire draft. Malik Neighbors.
Wow, yeah, that's a fair one. I will reluctantly have to give some credit here to the LA Rams, picking 19th overall, getting the best pass rusher in the draft, in my opinion, Jared Verse out of Florida State, who had a great year last year for FSU. He should have gone, in any other draft, he would have gone in the top 10 if the run on offense wasn't as insane as it was this year with a new record being set. Rams landed him at 19, filled their biggest position of need, and probably picked best available and got the most valuable player available in their spot. So the perfect pick all around, and got to give them credit where it's due. What's another bottom 3?
You know what? I wanted to go with the Saints, and I think I will. I don't mind Talise Fuaga, but the Saints are completely lackluster on offense at this point. I mean, really, what stars do you have? You may have an offensive tackle here out of Oregon State that's going to do it for you for the next couple of years, but you needed skill position players, and you did not get it. So for the same reason that I put the Cowboys on this list, I am putting the Saints on this list with Talise Fuaga.
All right, I'm going to go with, this is fun for me getting to rip on a division rival when I just had to praise one, but the Cardinals to me reached with Darius Robinson. I would have liked to see, if I didn't hate the Cardinals, if I was a Cardinals fan, I would have liked to see them address the corner position, which I think at that time in 27 just had more depth of talent still available. You had two of my top four corners in the entire draft still on board, in McKinstry and Cooper DeJean. Both of them ended up going in the second round for some reason, and the Cardinals decided to go defensive end instead. Pass rush has not been their biggest issue over the last few seasons. That's one of the things they've done well, like fine at least on defense. To me, I would have probably preferred bolstering the defensive backfield or doing something about the offensive line. Would have also been a possibility. It was a deep offensive line class. But Robinson, to me, more of a questionable pick. Position maybe I would have addressed in the second or third round, but later, too much talent was left on the table for me. And the final top three.
Yeah, if I told you in any other draft that someone took a tight end at 13, you would say, wow, that is a reach, isn't it? A tight end at 13. We rarely see first round tight ends anyway, but you late first round sometimes. But Brock Bowers going to the Raiders is absolutely a steal at 13. Many people had him in the top 10. I saw some people have him in the top 5, but the quarterbacks kind of washed that all downhill in this draft. Don't really care for the Raiders that much, but and not that they have a lot going on. But for you to get a generational tight end, I don't think we've seen a tight end like this since Gronkowski, and he may prove to be even better than Gronkowski in the end. You know, you put him up there with George Kittle, put him up there with the most elite in this league. Brock Bowers is going to be a star because I watched him play for 3 years actually, and he was absolutely unstoppable. The best tight end I've ever seen play college ball. Let's see how he does in the NFL. But the Raiders got a steal with Brock Bowers.
Let's hope he can throw passes to himself as well.
Yeah, that's
the reason I don't have it. The reason I don't have him in the top three is because they so direly needed a quarterback, and they were the one team that was on the outside looking in that did not end up getting that quarterback because they're just too late. And then Denver, the division rival, took the last one away from them, just a little bit in front of them. Poetically as well. Of course, the Bowers pick is great value, but to me, man, you needed a quarterback. You have to trade up if that's what it takes. The search continues. That's why I'm going for my last top three spot. A player that I would have loved to see in red and gold next year that unfortunately did not end up dropping to 31. Terrion Arnold, my number one corner in the class from Alabama. Seen him in college. More than worth trading up for, as the Lions did trade with the Cowboys up to 24 to snatch a true number one corner who I think is going to make this defensive backfield a nightmare to face. That's their one weakness, and we saw it last year. The defensive backfield was the Lions' biggest Achilles heel, which ended up costing them some games, giving up big plays, and also ended up costing them a championship win in the end, because they were leading big and they just got burned deep too many times in the third, fourth quarter suddenly. So they are addressing the exact need they needed to. Out of a complete miracle, the top corner, which never happens, falls to 24 in the draft, and the Lions snatch him up. To me, A+ pick. Bottom three.
I see where you're going right now. I see exactly where you're going. And that's why I'm glad I put this guy on the list, because Ricky Pearsall going to the 49ers in the first round was a reach. It was a big reach. That was worse than Xavier Worthy going to the Chiefs at 28. Ricky Pearsall was graded as a second to third round pick. No one had him penciled in going in the first round. I did not see it anywhere. And I looked through a lot of mock drafts. Maybe somebody did, a Florida fan or something, maybe had him there. Not that I hate the talent. I think he's really talented. The guy played quite a bit in college, and he could prove to be useful. I just think you could have done it in the second or third round and had some more talent on that team. But not that the 49ers are hurting for talent, but it was a stretch. So I'm putting Ricky Pearsall going to the 49ers at 31 right here.
The Niners currently have 11 receivers on the roster. I think
they do.
There's like a little thing where Kyle Shanahan, like, he can't help himself. He just collects those guys, like action figures, it seems like. Because you can never have enough. I mean, that if you had an unlimited roster, you can never have enough of those guys. I don't know about second to third round pick. He was a top 40 prospect on most lists, I believe, or most reasonable lists. Better receiver to me than Brian Thomas, who went before him to Jacksonville. If Terrion Arnold was on the board, I think the Niners take him there. It's hard to pass that up. Maybe one of the top 3 offensive linemen as well. The Niners would take in that spot, and then pick another receiver in the second. But they thought they had good value there. Now he is going to be a wide receiver 3 from the start, which is where he belongs. He belongs in the slot. He's going to add value in the return game. He's the kind of player that Kyle Shanahan will get the most out of him, and probably legitimize him being a number 1 or a first round pick. There were bigger needs in the defensive backfield, the offensive and defensive line. All of those were addressed. Well, not the defensive line. Most of those were addressed later in the draft. But to me, it doesn't warrant a bottom 3 pick because it's Michaeal Penix for the Falcons at number 8. I mean, listen, I get the parallel you're trying to draw with the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love thing, right? But Aaron Rodgers was like about to retire. Like people did not know if he would like play another season after that or not. He then he got a contract extension and then went on to win multiple MVPs, and he played like so much better than anyone expected him to, going on to age 40. And then but Kirk Cousins just now signed a contract for 4 years, right? So he's going to play at least 3 of those, we would imagine. So. Or at least 2 of those, yeah. So you can't justify benching him in any way, right? And the biggest need for the Falcons was defense. I mean, they really needed a pass rusher. And all the top pass rushers were there. Like, you had your selection. It couldn't have been better for them. They could have traded down 10 spots and still picked the number 1 defensive end. And instead to go with a quarterback who, by the way, is not cheap, even though he's a rookie. Rookie quarterbacks, first-round picks, get paid a lot. So if you wanted a good, reliable backup, I would rather sign an actual NFL backup quarterback who will end up costing you less and probably be more reliable because of the experience they already have. Penix is a pure developmental project. That is a big pick and money investment, which will not pay off for the next 2 to 3 years. So you have to be very confident that, we are the top dogs in the division already, right? We're going to win this division without adding any more strength, because this pick does not add anything, not a single ounce of strength to that roster for the next 2 to 3 years. And to me, I don't like it. You've made this commitment to Kirk Cousins. Give him the best opportunity to win. Draft the number 1 defensive lineman. You can get your pick between interior. Byron Murphy's there. Jared Verse is there. Anyone you want on the defensive line. Get your quarterback in a year or 2. Because having a quarterback, let's say you draft a quarterback in 2026. You can still have him sit for a year, maybe 2 if Kirk Cousins plays out the contract. And then you bring him in. But this team is not yet good enough to afford this sort of luxury, because Kirk Cousins is not Aaron Rodgers, who just does it all by himself all the time. And picking Jordan Love in the 31st or something overall versus picking 8th overall, where the best defensive player is still on the board, to me, I don't like it. I think it's too bold of a move. Now the Falcons are still the best team in the division and should win it, but it could have been more secure in that if they had made a better pick here. I think this was a little bit greedy. I think it's not the best showing for Kirk Cousins either. I'm sure he was not very happy with that.
No.
I don't even know if the owner was very happy with that. And this is how, as a GM or as a head coach, you put your butt on fire quick. Because now if something doesn't work out, and you have defensive struggles, and there's Michaeal Penix rotting on the bench for 2 or 3 years, eating up, by the way, also $50 million over that time, and not playing a single snap, puts a big target on your back. I don't know. I don't agree with this pick. I think this was a poker move
for Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris. It's like a poker move. They're just pushing all the chips into the middle of the table, and they're like, the unlikely coach in the first place, Raheem Morris. Not too many people were like, oh, we have to have Raheem Morris for our head coach. He's given a spot to take over, and I think that's what he's doing. He was like, regardless of what happens, we are not going to be lacking on quarterback. And personally, like I said, that was my favorite quarterback in the draft. I think he's the best passer in the quarterback in the draft, and he can move also. I but I wouldn't. That's not my pick. I wouldn't have taken it. Absolutely not. If I were the one drafting, I would not have taken him there. I would have done everything I could to get Malik Neighbors because I would set up Kirk Cousins to win now. But I can see where they're coming from. That's my point. I can see where they're coming from. I see what they're doing. It's either going to win big or lose big. I don't think there's any in between there. If it works out, people are like, oh, genius move. If it doesn't work out, you get pointed at and laughed at.
Yeah, I can see where it's coming from too. It's just, it's not up my alley. Not my taste of pick in this case. But that's why the gradings are individual. So let us know in the comments what do you think about this draft. Maybe you have bottom three picks or whatever were the best, the highlights, the lowlights. These are just our rankings, and we're curious to see how it actually ends up working out during the season. So let us know, drop us a like in the comments as well, and we'll see you in the next video.
Listen now, we the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's 4th down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the